Hello, and welcome to this week's weekly challenge. We're going to be looking at fear of failure. So, just before we get into it, here are just a few points about why this is important and what you might get out of doing this challenge. So, let's get into it. So, fear of failure is really important because it's when we start to actually avoid going after our goals because we're afraid something bad might happen, or we just keep thinking of bad outcomes, focusing on the negative instead of the positives. And of course, this can keep us from growing and learning. And ironically, this will actually make us more likely to fail because we're not really practicing going after our goals. So when we do attempt something, we've got so much negativity on our mindset and we just keep thinking about failure, failure, failure instead of thinking about winning, winning, or succeeding and actually getting good outcomes. Or if we do fail, which does happen sometimes, actually learning from that experience. And finally, this is the greatest thing about fear of failure is that we can change our perspective of how we look at it because as long as you're not looking at failure as the end of the story, but as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to learn more about a better way to approach what you're trying to do, then this can be a really positive thing. Okay, so let's look right into the challenge that we have for this week. So we have here day one, we're asking the idea of failing at something important makes me feel, and then you can just fill in what you think. And if you want to expand on this, just put in this makes me feel, for example, makes me feel terrified because I think, and then you put in the details there. And remember, you can either write this in a journal, or if you just like to do this and just think about it, just take a minute or two to just think about it without writing anything. That's totally fine. This is really flexible. You just do it the way that makes the most sense for you. Day number two, ask yourself, in the past, trying to avoid failure has held me back in these ways. And then you can actually list some of the things some of the ways that you feel that you've held yourself back because you were trying to avoid getting something wrong, failing, or looking like you weren't prepared, or whatever it is that you're afraid might go wrong. And on Wednesday, which would be the day number three, you ask yourself, in the past, when I failed, I learned this about myself. And this is where we start looking at some of the positive things that we can get when some of the positive things that we can get even if we fail. Day number four, we're starting to look now into the future. In the future, I can learn from my mistakes and failures by doing, and then just have a think about some of the things that you can try in order to look at failure from a positive way perspective and some of the things that you can learn from your failures. Day five, if a goal is too scary, I could do this to make it more manageable. So this is where you might think about some of the strategies that you can apply. And this is something that's whatever works best for you. So some people like to break things down. Some people like to talk with a friend, walk through their solutions, their ideas, right? So just have a think, use your imagination. What do you think would make a scary goal less scary for you to tackle? Day six, I think risking failure is worth it when, and then you can fill in some of the things that you think, because of course you can't live life just avoiding risks. Sometimes the outcome is so good that even if we might fail, it's still worth it, even if we just make a little bit of progress towards that. So just have a think here about what risks you think are worth taking and what risks aren't worth taking, because of course you don't want to risk failure that's not worth it if the goal isn't worth it. So just have a think about what opportunities are you willing to risk going after, even if it means that you might fail, but learn something. And finally, on day seven, you can ask yourself, if I ever feel afraid to go after my goals, I will remind myself that. And this is where you could put something motivational, something practical, or just something that's going to help you if you're in that situation where you feel like you're about to hold yourself back. Something that's going to get you to get back in the right mindset where you can take action and not allow a fear of failure to hold you back. So I hope you have fun with this weekly challenge and please let us know how you found it. If it's useful, what kind of challenges you'd like to get in the future, do like or leave a comment, and all feedback is really valuable. Thank you.